Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 2 of The Familiar of Zero, Night of the Twin Moons. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, it was revealed that Prince Wales, he's not dead, it was just one of his tricks, has kidnapped Princess Henrietta. Unfortunately, I do believe Cromwell was a little, unguarded with how he spoke, and he revealed that he did in fact use the Ring of Andvari to supply the late prince with false life. So things aren't exactly good. In fact, I'd go as far as to say things are quite bad, It's never a good thing when the princess is kidnapped by a revenant, much less, the revenant of the guy she was in love with, sort of in contravention to politics and good sense. Now, normally during the opening theme, I would sit quietly with reverence, but today I am obligated to my sponsor. Today's sponsor is none other than myself. You may not know this, but I write light novels, and I've written quite a few. Today, I'm going to tell you about the eccentric detective Yamamoto, in which the intrepid, if drunken, detective solves a wide variety of cases with the help of her assistant Satoshi. Ranging from finding missing pets and surveilling cheating spouses to catching a high-end cat burglar and preventing the murder of a local business magnate, no case is too big or too small for Detective Yamamoto. Even when she's forced to work with, and occasionally against, the police, and even when she must contend with her fear of the supernatural, nothing will prevent the eccentric detective from doing what needs to be done to solve the case. If this sounds like something you'd like to read, then by all means, consider purchasing books in the Eccentric Detective Yamamoto series by me, Frederick Fitzgerald, through Amazon. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the episode. Now, the question at this point, I feel, is how much precisely does everyone know? Because the fact that it was Prince Wales was really only revealed in the stinger at the end of the previous episode, so I feel like, despite Agnes bursting in on Saito and Louise, she doesn't actually know the identity of the kidnapper. And more to the point, if this is, the corpse of Prince Wales bestowed with false life, who's to say it even really is a kidnapping, This is precisely the sort of thing that Princess Henrietta would be susceptible to, especially on like a quiet night like this where she's probably not feeling too great about everything and she's sort of reminiscing about them considering eloping as she looks upon, the ruby of wind or water, whichever one it was, And, when you get down to it, there's a little bit more here too, because apparently they were both swearing an oath to the Spirit of Water. The Spirit of Water, which is sort of involved with them insofar as the Ring of Andvari is concerned. And, I feel like if it had been returned to the Spirit of Water, then the effects of the ring might have faded. And seeing as how that's likely not the case, I feel like perhaps someone else has it, which that's kind of not good. When you make an oath to a primordial spirit, you kind of gotta uphold the oath. Maybe the Spirit of Water is understanding and is willing to work on, like, a longer time frame here than normal people are willing to accept, but, I don't know. If he was willing to flood the countryside searching for the ring, maybe you better, try to appease it a little bit. So, yeah, I think at this point, Henrietta's probably going to be a willing captive, I mean, she's putting up a front saying, hey, who's intruding here? But, I guess tellingly, she's not immediately repulsed by the idea of someone claiming to be Prince Wales. I mean, she's sort of putting up, a little bit of a defense, but I reckon that ring of hers glowing in the way it had done, that's probably pretty strong evidence Man, there's something about the framing of that shot. Prince Wales and all that, holding up the ring and all that, but, with part of the window pane blocking his face, that is really indicative that this guy is a corpse. Surely he's not going to be rotting if Princess Henrietta, runs up to him and throws her arms around him. I feel like she would probably be able to tell in pretty short order. Yeah. If he's able to, talk and pass as human and alive, the Ring of Anvaria is working some mighty impressive magic. Now that's something. I feel like, whatever's going on here, it's definitely playing on Henrietta's sympathies here, saying that, look, I'm a prince, I have to go back to Albion and reclaim my throne, and, any dutiful and upstanding prince would say the same. But at the same time, that is tantamount to suicide, insofar as such a thing could be said of a corpse. Unfortunately, all that sweet talk did it. Henrietta's going along with it, and, so the whole night's gone by, it's the next day, and, I guess everyone's left to sort of pick up the pieces and try to figure it out. So I do find it interesting that Agnes knows, where the princess is heading. It's, that lake with the spirit of water, which, that should probably, raise a few red flags here. But it is interesting that they know where the princess is going, but they haven't sort of, headed her off at the pass, as it were. That seems, I don't want to poke too many holes in this, but that seems mighty convenient that it would be left to Saito and the others to take care of things. Although, that's not good. Because on the one hand, it does make sense that Saito would use the dragon's plumage to chase after Princess Henrietta. But on the other hand, the idea that it's still under repairs and that, it doesn't exactly have a sufficient runway, that indicates to me that, I don't know, the plane might quickly be out of commission even more than previously thought possible. I mean, Colbert here, he's none too sanguine about this whole business, because, it seems they've outfitted it with a little extra something to help it fly, and they've given it the longest runway possible, but, I don't know, the society... Oh, good lord. Saito took out a chunk of that wall. I feel like the plane wouldn't survive that. But I was going to say, for a society that has not independently invented flight on their own here, I feel like that would make Saito the foremost expert on the topic. And, for other people to say, hey, we've made a runway, it's I don't know if I'd be trusting that immediately. Now, I do find it interesting that of all the modifications that have been done to the dragon's plumage, the first thing they did was not add another seat, because, Louise is sort of in this uncomfortable position of having to sit on Saito's lap, and, I mean, that can't be comfortable for any period of time. I mean, I guess a Zero, it's like a compact fighter. It's not meant to carry more than one person, I'd imagine, and, the idea is maneuverability over everything else. Oh dear. Well, I guess it was nice while it lasted to have a fully functional plane that could stand toe-to-toe with anything this magical world had to offer, but it seems like the dragon's plumage might be out of commission after this for a good long while. Deeply unfortunate, but I guess that's what happens when you don't properly maintain your things. I mean, I say that like it's Saito's fault. How could you properly maintain a plane with technology being what it is here? So this is something, the idea that when they first met, Wales and Henrietta, Wales, that rascal, he was just flirting shamelessly. I mean, I get why Henrietta would fall for a guy like that, but I can't help but wonder what he was doing in Tristane in the first place, lurking around the lake that's, not out in the middle of nowhere, but sort of like out in the sticks, away from the capital, as it were. Like, I get it's important, but it is kind of out of the way. Now, it is interesting that as we see Wales in the light of day, he does seem to be normal. For what little we saw of him in life, he seems largely the same. So, whatever else you can say about Andvari's ring, it is frighteningly potent. Because, like, I feel like the normal thing in fiction is that when you sort of raise a corpse, like, it is distinctly corpse-like, It could maybe pass for human, or living, rather, under, only certain circumstances. Like, The Mummy springs to mind with Brendan Fraser. When The Mummy had, like, stolen a lot of people's organs, but not everything he needed yet, he sort of, like, covered himself in bandages like he was a leper. And, in that manner, he could pass as living and human and all that, but, like, once you start unwinding the bandages and taking off the mask, like, it's very clear that something bad's going on here. And I would think that the same thing would kind of happen here. I mean, I guess, maybe the rot is in evidence in his actions. Him having attacked the musketeer force that was pursuing them. Henrietta even says, like, hey, those are my musketeers. And, like, I don't know, she doesn't seem remarkably shocked about it. I feel like she should be slightly more shocked. But Wales sort of quashes any real, I guess, objections she might have by reminding her about the oath they swore in front of the Spirit of Water. And I guess, that's something. An oath is an oath, after all. But, I don't know, I feel like, you should not be bound to an oath that's fraudulent, I guess. That's probably the best way to put it. You can't really uphold the oath you have with this now corpse. Oh dear. So, yeah, it really does seem like the dragon's plumage is out of commission. And, the nice thing about planes, as opposed to helicopters, is that planes can, like, glide. They don't immediately drop from the sky if they lose power. But Louise, she has the remarkable poor judgment to sort of, like, strike the pilot. That's not a good thing to be doing. And really, it is lucky that Tabitha showed up to save the day here, because otherwise, I don't know, Saito and Louise would be, little more than a stain on the ground. Although it is kind of interesting that, even while losing power, the plane just sort of started to plummet. I feel like it should have been, marginally more controlled than that. It's never a good thing if a plane loses power and then glides to the ground and has a rough landing. Like, that's not good. But, it's certainly better than an uncontrolled fall and crash. So I guess the question is, how are they going to land the plane here? They're only flying really due to Tabitha's wind magic, so they've got to, like, do something, I figure. More to the point, like, they can't exactly, like, shoot Prince Wales from the plane. Not least because they have no ammunition, but, like, that would be unseemly, I reckon. Princess Henrietta certainly wouldn't thank them for it. So this is the real question here. Wales is surrounded on all sides by, quite a few competent people. So the question is, now what? What was he really planning, aside from taking Henrietta with him, and what's he gonna do now? Probably nothing good, but, I don't know, it could be bad for a variety of reasons. If Henrietta's truly suckered in by this whole thing, that she thinks he really is truly alive, then, I reckon she's going to behave, I guess in an uncharacteristic fashion. So that's rather smug of Prince Wales here to say, hey, if the Ring of Andvaria was real, that would be a horrible thing, bestowing false life to a corpse, as we witness that very same thing. But, like, that's something. So unfortunately, it seems as though the prince did feed Henrietta a little convenient lie about a body double having died. So, yeah, I reckon Henrietta, if pushed to it, will break on the side of Wales, and that's not good. And I guess perhaps equally not good is Tabitha just going for it. Like, that's rather grim to have impaled him with ice like that. I mean, I feel like this should be the nail in the coffin here, that Henrietta realizes that, like, something's going on here and it isn't good. But, I don't know. Like, she's not immediately rushing to stand behind Louise or anything like that. She's standing by the prince. It's not exactly good. Yeah, so here we go. Louise is calling out directly. It's like, look, you saw that guy get punctured like a pincushion. You know, clearly, like, that's not something humans are known to survive. But, yeah. Unfortunately, Henrietta's just saying, like, look, I love the guy. I can't, walk away from him. And I will sacrifice everything. Which, that's, decidedly not very good. But, we don't know exactly what the parameters of void magic are, whether it, like, just destroys things or if it can dispel magic. Now might be the time for some void magic, undo the enchantment of the Ring of Andvari. It's not exactly tactful to reveal the prince as a corpse, but, I mean, when Henrietta's saying, like, look, as your queen, I command you to leave, Louise Francois, like, I don't know. At this point, the time for talking is kind of over, and, you shouldn't exactly be fighting to kill here, but clearly Prince Wales is not going to hold back, and Henrietta herself is even joining him, so, I don't know, like, you might have to do something kind of unsavory. Like, this isn't to say you should, like, hit the queen or anything, but if you can maybe, like, just sort of knock her out of commission briefly in the gentlest way possible, then, I suppose that's kind of what you have to do. Now, I do have to wonder, with Agnes having shown up here, like, she's got, a musket. Like, muskets are known to, leave brutal, brutal wounds. Surely something like that might be enough to break the Ring of Andvari's enchantment if she were to get, like, a good clean shot on the prince. But at the same time, like, I don't know, man, that's, kind of a risky gamble. The princess certainly wouldn't thank anyone for it. Alright, so here we go. Derflinger sort of clues everyone in that, hey, it's time for some void magic, in this case, dispelling stuff, so, like, hop to it, Louise, start reading. But, this is also an interesting statement from the prince. He's a triangle-level mage, as is Princess Henrietta, and together, combining their magic, wind and water, they can, effect a hexagram-level spell, which is, that's something, because, we were led to believe early on, sort of, that, like, the best you can really do is, like, a square class mage, but, I guess it's bad enough that Saito can barely hold it off, even with Derflinger, a sword known for eating magic, but fortunately that dispel magic spell Louise has, that's like, one of the shorter incantations, and oh, that's unsettling. For Wales to become, more and more corpse-like as the spell washes over him, and for his voice to be pitched down like that, like, that's a little unsettling, but, I guess the question is, does Henrietta get, like, one last little reprieve or not? Because I reckon at this point, like, he is well and truly a corpse. She's probably not going to get, like, a nice, clean goodbye. Well, I take that back, he has sort of persisted slightly, and he's not nearly as corpse-like as he probably should be. I don't think we've been given a really good indication of how much time has passed, but I feel like him having been stabbed and all the stuff happening between then and now, like, the guy's gotta be probably a little decomposed here. Like, I get why they wouldn't necessarily show that, it being horrific, but I don't know, I feel like that would be the case. So it is nice, in a way, kind of, that Prince Wales, as his dying act, is trying to get Henrietta to move on and all that, but, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working, even as a dying wish. And similarly, Henrietta's, like, deeply in denial here, saying that, like, look, swear that you'll love me forever, and it's like, a corpse can't make any kind of an oath here. And it's rather telling that Wales himself is saying that, so, I don't know, I feel like, she can't really deny it too much anymore. I mean, not only him referring to himself as a corpse, but also, bleeding from that fatal wound again, like, deeply unfortunate that Henrietta has to go through this whole thing, but, I guess I should hope that this last little bit will provide some degree of closure rather than, knowing him to be dead but having no distinct proof of that. I suppose, at this point, he would at least get a proper burial rather than being puppeteered by magic used for evil. I mean, for whatever small bright side it presents, it's not exactly great from where the princess is standing, but I guess you have to take what you can get. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.